This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
Season's greetings to you, and welcome to a very special edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. Why so special, you ask? Well, if you watch us on a regular basis, then you already know once a year we do the show from the Georgia Farm Bureau's annual meeting right here on Jekyll Island. So glad you decided to tune in. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. That's right. This year marks the 77th edition of this meeting, Ray. Its purpose to honor those counties and volunteers who have made all the Farm Bureau programs and legislative efforts so successful in 2014. And coming up on the show, Damon Jones on what exactly happens during this three-day meeting and why members say they are willing to travel great lengths to attend the festivities. Also, how would you like to be one of the judges during the state's discussion meet? As always, the competition was intense, but in the end, only one was able to advance to the national competition, which is set next month in San Diego.
And then later, her unique approach to teaching and connection with the students earned Carmen Power the Georgia Excellence in Teaching Agricultural Award. Coming up, how a simple game she used to play as a child eventually became her passion as an adult. These stories and much more starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Well, you know, each year over 1,700 members representing Farm Bureau chapters in all 159 Georgia counties converge here on the island to hear leading experts and speakers discuss agricultural issues that concern us all. But as Damon Jones explains, the Georgia Farm Bureau's annual meeting is not all business.
It was a nice mix of beach and business at the 2014 Georgia Farm Bureau State Convention as members from all over the state gathered in one spot to discuss important issues facing the agricultural industry next year.
So when you've got these grassroots ideas coming together in one building and sharing the fellowship and then charting out what the plan is going to be for 2015, there's no better place to be than right here, kind of at ground zero for ag policies, no doubt.
With Georgia being one of the most diverse industries in the entire country, everything from peanuts to honeybees were well represented. It provided a unique opportunity to network with other farmers in different sectors.
It's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of nice people. You make a lot of contacts and you can share a lot of useful information with folks as well. And it lets us get our story out to a good audience that can then turn around and in a lot of cases, we're giving information to people that are taking it back to their community and through their local Farm Bureau. They're sharing this information in schools. They're sharing the information with the general public in the office. So it's a great way to connect.
Well, as you can see, there is plenty of information to be had here at the annual state convention, but it's not all business as farmers also get a chance to catch up with old friends while also spending quality time with their family.
This is like a family reunion. We get to talk to our friends and farmers from all over this state, talk about farming, talking about Farm Bureau, our programs, whatever. It's kind of like going to a big family reunion.
And it's that family that will ultimately determine the success of agriculture moving forward.
That's good. It's good for us to expand our business, but we got to, work as a team to advance agriculture in Georgia, and hopefully 2015 can be another prosperous year for us.
Reporting from Jekyll Island, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, thank you very much, Damon. In his annual address to members, Georgia Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall spoke of the many challenges the GFB faced this past year. Yet, in spite of those challenges, President Duvall said he couldn't be more proud of how the organization responded, the way it stepped up and embraced those challenges, embraced change, and continued to tell the story of America's farmers and Farm Bureau.
We must continue to tell the Farm Bureau story to meet this challenge. Sometimes facing that obstacle is simply just asking our friends and neighbors to join Farm Bureau. For example, earlier this year at a County Farm Bureau meeting, someone asked Senator Isaacson if he was a member of Georgia Farm Bureau. At that time, the senator responded, "I'm not really sure." But a couple of weeks later at our Georgia Farm Bureau Commodity Conference in Tifton, the senator presented me with a check of his membership. Now, the senator has been a longtime friend of Farm Bureau. All we had to do was just ask him, and he was willing to join. Ditch the Rule was the subject of hundreds of County Farm Bureau meetings, and just as important, meetings of other groups sponsored by your local county farm bureaus. Most of all, we can be proud that through Georgia Farm Bureau, 15,558 comments were sent to EPA urging them to withdraw the proposed rule. That's almost 16,000 comments. Please give yourself a round of applause. In conclusion, it has been a busy year, and we are all proud of our successes. But we can't live on past successes. Just like on our farm, the end of one year is the beginning of the next.
Well, following President Duvall's address, Farm Bureau members also got to hear from Georgia Governor Nathan Deal. During his yearly address at the convention, Governor Deal said it's important that we, meaning state government and farmers, work together because our voices become amplified in that process.
The world has discovered Georgia pecans. They likewise have discovered Georgia peanuts, Georgia blueberries, and many other agricultural products. And of course, the European Union has discovered the availability of chipped wood grown here on Georgia forest land and shipped to them for the satisfaction of their requirement of renewable energy sources for the generation of electricity.
Also in attendance at this year's convention, Georgia Senator-elect David Perdue, who admitted to members that he is lobbying to be on the Ag Committee in Washington. Perdue saying that one of his main focuses once in office is leaving a better future for our children.
Imagine what this world would be if we hadn't stood up in World War II, if we hadn't stood up in Korea, if we hadn't stood up in 1962 to Khrushchev. Imagine what a dark world this would be. But the principles are very simple, and think about how few times we hear people from Washington talking about these four things. Economic opportunity, not guarantees, economic opportunity. Fiscal responsibility, limited government, individual liberty. These are things worth fighting for. That's why I'm going to Washington to get in a dogfight. I'm not going to be the most popular person in the Senate. If I'm successful, I might be really very unpopular. That doesn't bother me. I've got plenty of friends right here in this room and right here in Georgia. And you've got my commitment that I'm going to go there and fight for those four principles. And I think with your help, we can make a difference.
Well, still to come on the program, a complete recap of this year's Young Farmer Discussion Meet, including who's moving on to compete in the national competition.
But first, an in-depth look at this year's recipient for the Georgia Excellence in Teaching Ag Award. She's Carmen Power of Canton, Georgia. The unique ways in which she connects with her students, that's next when the Georgia Farm Monitor continues. Surf's up at Jekyll Island, site of the 77th Annual Georgia Farm Bureau Convention. And we welcome you back to the Georgia Farm Monitor. Every year here at Jekyll, a luncheon is held to celebrate and recognize Georgia Farm Bureau county presidents, office managers, and secretaries for all the hard work that they do on a daily basis. The Georgia Farm Bureau, by the way, made up of 158 county presidents as well as 300 county office managers and secretaries. Katie Seagraves from Clark County was named the 2014 Outstanding Office Manager of the Year. The luncheon concluded with the Cobb County Farm Bureau making a contribution to the new GFB Foundation for Agriculture in the amount of $10,000. Another highlight of the convention, the Celebrating Agricultural Literacy program, sponsored by the GFB's Women's Leadership Committee. During the program, all former state Women's Committee members were recognized, along with current committee members. In an emotional farewell, outgoing Women's Chair Elaine Avery thanked Farm Bureau members for their love and support over the past year. She also introduced the incoming chairwoman, who is Janet Gruhl of Fayette County, Georgia. All of us here at the Farm Monitor wish Janet the very best in the year to come.
Well, each year at this time, the Georgia Farm Bureau likes to recognize the teachers or teacher who takes it upon themselves to go the extra mile by incorporating agriculture into their daily and weekly lesson plans. For this reason, we have set up the annual Georgia Excellence in Teaching About Agriculture Educator Award. As expected, all the candidates were unique and demonstrated a dedication to education and ag literacy. But in the end, the judges chose Carmen Power, who teaches 4th and 5th grade science at Freeholm Elementary in Canton, Georgia. Prior to her acceptance of the award, I sat down with Carmen to get a better understanding of why she gave up dreams of working with animals and chose to spend her time with kids instead.
Well, I originally went to school to be a horse vet, believe it or not, and I worked for a vet in high school and decided that was not what I wanted to do. I assisted on some surgeries and got sick to my stomach and thought, maybe this is not for me. My friends and I used to play school all the time, so I thought maybe teaching's my thing. So I went back to school, changed my major to education, and got a teaching degree, and it was the best decision I ever made, and I love it. I love being here with these children, seeing their minds work every day, seeing when things click, and come to find out my 2 friends that I used to play school with, they're teachers. One may grow faster, one may be bigger, more healthy. I had no idea the things that you can do in your classroom, the opportunities there were to teach children about agriculture and using the standards at the same time. And we live in an area where farming is a big deal. Chicken farms are a big deal. Horses, as you drive around through the county and adjoining counties, have horse farms. There's just a lot going on here in Cherokee County with agriculture.
The thing about Carmen is her easy style. She can bring it on to a level that the kids enjoy and understand, and most of her activities are hands-on, so that the kids are always doing something. Whenever I'm in the classroom, and I go in classrooms a lot, they're not just sitting there doing work. They're always interactive, and she's always walking around talking to them and conversing with them about the subject. So I think that's why she has a super rapport with the kids, and that it comes across easy to learn for them, and they can retain what they're learning because of her style.
I think if 1 or 2 become interested in taking a seed home, and I've seen them, Miss Power, can I keep this seed? They want to take it home and plant it in their house and maybe teach their family something that they don't know. So I do see it, that they are motivated enough to want to take a little seed home and share that information that they got with their parents.
A couple of years ago, when Carmen went to the ag conference, our Cherokee Farm Bureau sent, their partners with us, sent 2 teachers every year. Well, Carmen got to go to the one in Florida. So when she came back, she was all excited and energized and just loved it, and decided to do something about it. So she wrote a grant to get a greenhouse put on property. We're the only elementary school that does have a greenhouse, and the only other high school that has one is Cherokee High School.
Another opportunity that we have this year is we have 4-H coming to work with our 5th graders once a month. And you have certain lessons that you can choose, and I chose the ag science lessons, and she comes in and does extra things with them to help them understand about pollination and other little things about flowers and plants and how they grow and get to be where they are and where they get their colors from. So it supplements our curriculum, and it works very well.
Well, it goes without saying, a big congratulations to Carmen Power for winning that award. Now, moving on, we cannot forget about the business side of things here at Jekyll. That's where the commodity meetings come into play. Guest speakers bring each of the groups up to date on the latest news, technology, and research. 2 areas that always seem to draw a lot of attention: cotton and peanuts. Mark Wildman explains.
Guys, it was a very challenging year for Georgia peanut and cotton producers with heavy rain, drought, and low prices.
At the peanut meeting, Georgia Farm Bureau members got to hear from UGA peanut agronomist Scott Monfort. He displayed many images of just how challenging a year it was to grow the crop. With heavy rainfall at times, followed by extended periods of dry weather, farmers had some serious hurdles to overcome. Crop expected to turn out low yields, but experts were pleasantly surprised.
We thought we would be somewhere around that 36, 37, 3,800 pound range, but luckily, when we started turning these peanuts over, it was a lot better than we thought. And so we are ending up somewhere around that 4,000 to 4,100 mark, which is about 500 pounds off from what we saw the previous year, but a very good yield or average yield for a year like we had this year.
Still, the quality of the crop was mixed.
That's still out for debate right now. We know the irrigated crop, the quality was good. And so that's a guaranteed 50% of the crop looks pretty good. And I'd say the other 50%, the non-irrigated, I'd say a majority of that, the quality was okay. And then the rest of it was not so good at all.
Over in the cotton meeting, growers got to hear from the president and CEO of the National Cotton Council, Mark Lang. He spoke about how the industry is coping with pressures from low prices.
It's a terrible situation because, as I think most producers are aware, as a result of the WTO cotton case with Brazil, when we were in the Farm Bill, we had to create a policy that didn't have a target price in it. The other commodities do. So the situation is our safety net is through crop insurance, and it's a strong safety net when prices are sufficient. But right now, I would say for the average cotton grower in the United States, 65-cent December futures is right at or might even be below cost of production. It's a terrible situation, and there isn't a good safety net for low prices.
I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Mark, great job, sir. When we come back, cooperative attitude, problem solving, and delivery. If you're judging a young farmer's discussion meet, those are the criteria for determining a winner. Who came out on top at this year's state final? The answer when the Georgia Farm Monitor continues from beautiful Jekyll Island. And we welcome you back to beautiful Jekyll Island as the Georgia Farm Bureau celebrates its 77th anniversary. You know, each year Georgia young farmers work with county farm bureaus on a very special project called Harvest for All. Through this event, county farm bureaus show their strength and passion for helping others. During this year's convention, President Duvall and Young Farmer Chairman Matthew London presented Dana Kraft and the Georgia Food Bank Association a check for $20,000 on behalf of all the members of the Georgia Farm Bureau. Here's more on the Georgia Food Bank Association.
You know, we have over 200,000 square feet of warehouse, 2 warehouses here. You pull up in the morning. If I get here at 7:30, 8 o'clock, people have already been here for 3 hours. And if I leave at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, I know people are going to be here for 2 or 3 more hours.
It's actually one of 8 regional food banks that serve the entire state. Those food banks collectively are part of the Feeding America Network. They distributed 130 million pounds of food last year through a community-based network of partner agencies and pantries. We know from a recent hunger study that the 8 regional food banks reach 1.4 million unduplicated Georgians every year. Many of those, more than half, need help more than once a year. So we know from that study that, that about 11 million people are served through the food bank network. If you're talking about food by the tractor trailer load, yes, absolutely, we need that, and Georgia farmers have donated more than 10 million pounds, 250 tractor trailer loads of fresh produce so far this year. But money is actually the most flexible thing that you can give to the food banks because it allows them to use that money to leverage picking up other food or to purchase important food that doesn't get donated.
The dollars, I just can't tell you how important they are because we can leverage those dollars. We can go out and buy wholesale or get things donated and use those dollars to distribute the food. Just at our food bank, we get over $9 and I think 27 cents worth of food out the door for every dollar invested.
Georgia Farm Bureau is so important to us, not only for the partnership we have with the Young Farmers Division and the money that's raised every year, but the relationships that we've been able to develop. In our first year of intentionally trying to source fresh produce, to get 10 million pounds in the first year wouldn't have been possible without the kind of partnership and visibility Georgia Farm Bureau has given us through the years.
Wow, great stuff. Well, as you already know, young farmers play a very important role in our organization.
Yeah, the Young Farmers Discussion Meet is a competition designed to help young farmers become strong Farm Bureau leaders by giving them practical experience in discussing the many key issues in agriculture.
On Sunday afternoon, the stage set and the contestants ready for the 2014 GFB Young Farmers Discussion Meet Finals. During this year's session, the contestants discussed how U.S. policy should balance concerns about food insecurity against concerns regarding the safety and environmental impact of modern ag technologies, along with the role farmers should have in discussing the issue with others.
To try to translate the importance of utilizing that technology on our farms to the general consumer.
I like how all three of you had such great ideas on how to educate and how to specifically target those that we do educate.
The real question and the pertinent question today is, will they have access to that innovation? I think it's important that we tell our story.
I get things for my food and the farmers who grew it.
Brittany Ivy of Stevens County was this year's winner. She receives a $500 cash award courtesy of the Georgia Farm Bureau, a Polaris ATV courtesy of Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Also, the three finalists each received a $350 cash award from SunTrust Bank. Plus, Brittany goes on to compete at the AFBF convention in San Diego in January.
And last but not least, the GFB Awards presentation. It's the highlight of each meeting. That's when we find out which of the district winners is chosen as the best in the state for that given year. Anticipation ran high as the names were announced, and here's how it turned out.
Yeah, first off, receiving the award for the Best Promotion and Education Program in 2014, Newton County. This year's award for the Best Women's Leadership Program went to Bacon County Farm Bureau. Also, the GFB's Young Farmer Achievement Award for 2014, Drew and Shelley Eccles of Hall County. They will now go on to represent Georgia at the American Farm Bureau National Convention set for next month in San Diego.
Top honors for Best Legislative Committee Award went to Henry County. The Young Farmer Committee Award went to Madison County.
For the second straight year, the Georgia Farm Bureau presented an award to those counties demonstrating positive growth. From the small membership group, the winner was Turner County Farm Bureau. From the middle membership group, the winner, Franklin County Farm Bureau, where Michael Thomason is county president. Newton County Farm Bureau, whose president is Charles Berry, received the large membership award.
And then, Ray, there's the McKimmey Award, the most prestigious honor given by the Georgia Farm Bureau to a county. Once again, this year we recognize 3 McKimmey winners by member categories. Let's start with the counties that have memberships up to 1,392. This year's winner, Bacon County Farm Bureau. David Lee is their president.
The next McKimmey winner, the county with up to 2,335 members. The 2014 recipient is Cook County Farm Bureau, Derry Bennett, president.
And finally, for the counties with total members of 2,336 and above, this year's winner is Newton County Farm Bureau. Again, Charles Berry, their president. And we congratulate all the winners in 2014 and look forward to seeing them next year.
And unfortunately, that is going to do it for the special Jekyll Island edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. Next week, we are back in our Macon studios for our annual Best of YouTube show. Hope you make plans to join us then.
Now, here's just a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on your farm. Be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming, plus the Farm Monitor show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Have a Merry Christmas.